All right, let's get into it.
We should demand evidence. We don't just settle for the runaround or the obvious pile of steaming turds. The longer I've followed the UFO, non-human intelligence subject, the more I realize something. Everything adds up. And that's exactly the problem. Not because it all points to one answer, because it doesn't, but because it points in several directions all at once. Look, there are decades upon decades of credible military sightings, pilot testimonies, radar data, declassified documents, confirmed previously secret government programs, whistleblowers. Some of them have testified under oath, of course. I don't think that there's an intellectually honest person that can simply just dismiss all of that anymore. But mixed in with it, there is, anonymous sources, the I know a guy, trust me bro claims, with no evidence, tons of misidentified videos and photos, misinformation, disinformation. And then there's the government. On one hand, we're seeing more UFO, UAP files released than ever before, right? But on the other, some of those files, in those cases had been already identified years ago, like lame. I actually had a chance to talk to and ask Lou Elizondo in person with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, why would they release material that has already been explained? And his response was on purpose. I asked, is there a method to the madness? And he said, yeah. So that raises an important question. I mean, if the goal is to earn public trust, then why make it so difficult to separate signal from all the noise? I do believe there's something real behind this phenomenon. I absolutely do. And I think that there are both civilian and people inside the government who genuinely want answers. I also think that decades of this secrecy and competing agendas and misinformation, it's made it incredibly difficult to know what's true or who you can even trust. There is a lot of frustration right now. But there are more people than ever that are looking for the truth behind our reality, and there is strength in numbers. I would say maybe the answer isn't becoming more cynical, and maybe it's not believing, every extraordinary claim either. I think it's becoming more disciplined. We should demand evidence. We don't just settle for the runaround or the obvious pile of steaming turds. Most importantly, I think we need to stay curious. Be willing to change your mind. If we ever get closer to the real truth, I think that's the mindset that's actually going to get us there.
Honestly, I agree with a lot of what he has to say here. There's enough out there to make me believe something is going on, but not enough for me to confidently say what it is. Until we start actually getting real evidence instead of these breadcrumbs, I'm keeping an open mind and a healthy amount of skepticism, which I know a lot of people can get upset over. A lot of people are like, well, this is what it is, you need to believe that, or this is what that is, you need to believe this. And honestly, I just really need more evidence from the government. I would really prefer it being right in front of my face, but something more than what they're providing would be better, at least in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think.
I'm sure this is nothing, but did you know that in the book of Enoch it says that 200 angels called the Watchers fell from heaven, descended from heaven, landed on earth, and then eventually they created the Nephilim by finding human wives. But the crazy part is that there is roughly 200 Earth impact craters on every single continent pretty much around the entire world. And the crazy part is you can look at these craters and notice they all seem like it was an impact from straight down. None of them are on a big, long angled trajectory. None of the ones that I've seen anyway. 200 angels descending on Earth. 200 impact craters. The long day of Joshua, where the sun and the moon stopped rotating around the Earth, they said. Not the Earth stopped rotating around the sun. And we can't go to Antarctica very easily. I'm wondering if we need to start paying a little bit more attention to the book of Genesis, the whole Bible, and the book of Enoch.
That's actually a really interesting concept. I would have to say, though, as to one reason why I do not necessarily believe it, is because if people in the ancient times would have witnessed this and they would have considered them to be gods or angels, would they not have built holy sites around those impact locations? Wouldn't there be places of worship or places of sacrifice even for some people? I just feel like there would be more around those impact locations as far as ancient civilizations interacting with them, thinking that they were gods, and it seems like none of them have anything around them. Now, these impact sites could have happened outside of people's perception, and maybe that's why. But if any of these impact sites were perceived by any ancient civilization as something coming from the sky and landing in the ground would be a god, I just think that there would be some kind of sign of worship in that area. That's just my opinion. Hey, if you haven't done so already, and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this Monday through Friday, early in the morning. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Here's more things I want to know. I want to know about the Trojan horse in Homer's Odyssey. Everybody's heard of the Trojan horse. It's a legendary trick from the Trojan War myth from Homer's Odyssey. A huge, hollow wooden horse that the Greeks built to sneak soldiers inside of Troy's walls after a 10-year siege had failed to break them down. Now, this is not in the Iliad, it's only in the Odyssey, and it's only briefly mentioned. The fullest account comes centuries later in Virgil's Aeneid, I might have said that wrong, which was written in 20 BCE. According to Quintus Menaeus, Odysseus came up with the plan to build the Trojan horse. The horse was constructed by legendary craftsman Epios in only 3 days. Those guys worked harder in the myths too. 3 days to build this horse. So it was a large wooden horse statue, and it was hollowed out so these soldiers could hide inside as they delivered it as a gift. But inside of the gift was a surprise, and it was these soldiers. So this was a select force of Greek soldiers, including Odysseus himself, who went inside of the gates of Troy as the Greek fleet pretended to sail away. Then one night, when everybody was sleeping, the hidden soldiers crept out of the horse, opened up the gates, and brought in the soldiers that looked like they sailed away, and then they sacked the city. Now, this is the myth, but it takes place around the 8th century BCE, and the Trojan War itself was traditionally placed in the Bronze Age, around the 12th to 13th century BCE. But this is a legendary chronicle, it's not an actual event. Or was it? Could there be some shred of truth that this happened in this way? But a lot of people don't realize that our culture was given a Trojan horse. I didn't know it, you didn't know it, but now many people are waking up to it. They're understanding exactly what this thing was. This thing was sold to us as a way to communicate, connect, take photos, share photos, text, message, FaceTime with your loved ones. You getting the picture? The greatest Trojan horse in the history of the world is right here. It's in the palm of your hand every day, and I'm no different. And you're watching this on one of these. Trying to pull out of using these and live your life without them seems next to impossible these days. And that's the point. They built this phone Trojan horse for everybody to want, get addicted to, and then never be able to give up. And that's really scary because it's not just photos anymore. It's banking, it's health, it's your location, it's what you're doing. That's the Trojan horse they should be making a movie about and showing everybody just how insidious it is. But that thing affects me just as much as it affects you. We live in some very strange times. They're fluctuating faster than we can blink an eye. We have war, politicians doing crazy things, the list. It goes on and on. We can barely get food on the table before we're gaslit with something else. Justice doesn't seem to be real. It's all too much, and our nervous systems can't catch up with what's happening. So what I want to know today is, how are you doing? Are you happy? Are you depressed? Are you feeling sad? Do you feel lonely? Because you're not. And this community is here to support one another, I believe. That's one of the beauties of technology, is we're here to connect in a way globally we never could before. Maybe the Trojan horse is reversed onto them because the Trojan horse is connection of people instead of the destruction of people by the powers that be. I don't know, but I feel like I could be right on that for once. But put it in the comments. How are you doing? But what I really want to know is who on that list is going to jail first in America. And I don't care how they get there, but someone's got to go first.
I actually disagree with the Trojan horse comparison, at least a little bit. The whole point of the Trojan horse was that the people of Troy had no idea what was inside until it was too late. With smartphones, we know exactly what they're doing. We know that they collect our data, we know that they're addictive, we know that they can waste our time, and we still choose to use them. The difference is we actually have an exit. Nobody is forcing us to carry a smartphone. We can put it down, go outside, meet other people in person, pay with cash if we want to, while that's still an availability, it may not always be, and just simply live a more simple life. These companies would actually suffer if we were to put our phones down more and live a more simpler life. Even though smartphones are very convenient, they still benefit the top shelf pieces of trash, or the elites, if you will. But it's not them taking us out and we're not aware of it. We're completely aware of them taking us out with the use of cell phones. We're just allowing that to happen because of the conveniency.
Back in 1996, long before congressional hearings, whistleblowers, and UAP task forces, a woman named Kathy O'Brien stood before an audience and made an extraordinary claim. She said the alien narrative wasn't created to reveal the truth, it was created to hide it. It begins with MKUltra. MKUltra was real. The CIA admitted to conducting decades of mind control experiments involving drugs, hypnosis, and psychological manipulation. Congressional investigations exposed the program, and thousands of documents were eventually declassified. O'Brien says what the public learned was only part of a much larger operation. O'Brien claims she was abused as a child and later became part of a classified extension of MKUltra known as Project Monarch. She says years of systematic trauma were used to fracture her mind and make her programmable. She alleges she was moved through a network of powerful political and intelligence figures, naming former President Gerald Ford, former President George H.W. Bush, Senator Robert Byrd, and Dick Cheney, among others. According to O'Brien, these weren't isolated individuals, they were part of a system. And she says that same system deliberately promoted the alien narrative as a way to distract the public from highly classified military technology. One of her most specific claims dates to 1977. O'Brien says she was taken into a secure government office and shown a classified triangular stealth aircraft more than a decade before the United States publicly acknowledged the existence of the stealth fighter. Afterwards, she made a statement, the government is at least 25 years ahead of us technologically. Her conclusion was simple. People weren't seeing alien spacecraft, they were seeing technology the government wasn't ready to admit existed. Nearly 30 years later, Congress continues investigating UAPs, more classified files have been released, whistleblowers continue making extraordinary claims, and Kathy O'Brien's central question still lingers. Are UFO stories being used to hide classified human technology instead of alien technology?
I could believe this in some aspects, but I'm still having a hard time grasping exactly why, if that's the case. Why not just say that you're working on advanced technology that's about 25 years in the future and we're just not ready to show the public yet? Just wait for 25 years and you'll see it when it's ready. Why not just go that route instead of saying, oh, I don't know what's going on, it's aliens, I guess, and pretend to monitor UFOs and things like that when it's actually their own technology and they're just afraid to tell you it's their own technology. It's not like we're unaware that they're constantly working on new military defense and military offensive equipment. So why not just say, yeah, we do have some hyper advanced technology. It's just not ready to be shown yet. 25 more years. It's about 25 years ahead of its time and we're just not ready yet. Give us time. Why can't they do that? Why create this whole UFO UAP narrative? It's not like the world is not unaware of them already working on equipment that we have no idea what they're working on.
Conspiracy theories that I genuinely believe this time it is the Denver airport. People believe that this is the Illuminati headquarters or kind of like a backroom-esque type of thing going on. I genuinely believe that it factors as kind of a bit of all. It is enough of a liminal space to kind of be associated with the backrooms or kind of be like, you can be lost. You can get lost in the Denver airport. There are multiple passageways that literally lead to nothing, and it's because of multiple building projects. They're never finished. There are multiple unfinished building projects that literally have never been restarted at all. They're just forgotten about and built on top of. It reminds me a lot of like the Winchester House, but large scale. Because of the Freemason symbolism that happens to the New World, I think it's the New World airport thing. Yeah, New World Airport Commission, which is literally non-existent and it has a Freemason symbol. People obviously are gonna be like, what's going on? Honestly, I can see where they're coming from. Do I think it's one of the meeting places of the Illuminati? Yeah, of course. I believe that this is one of the main meeting places of the Illuminati. But do I think this is the headquarters? No, absolutely not. I don't think that the Illuminati even has headquarters, because the reason that they're able to fly so far under the radar is literally because they cannot be found. You expect them to be in one place, they're in another, and it's just they're all over the place. So it's kind of you can't find something that is scattered. It's difficult to find something that's scattered, aka needle in a haystack. And then we're going to talk about Lucifer. I believe that there is a curse surrounding that. Blue Mustang with red eyes that crushed its its creator. Now, every time somebody passes it, they feel as if like they're being watched. They feel uncomfortable, uneasy because of the history around it, the residual energies around that. I do believe that there is a curse. I believe that curse has kind of affected any type of like building and that goes on in the Denver airport, which is why we have so many open spaces, so many different places that literally are never used. Because of the delays in the construction, the massive construction, there are going to be underground bunkers, there are underground things, there are underground caves, so people can tunnel so they can tunnel the pipes, the plumbing, all that. So that being said, if we know what we know about like it having like that little dedication to like Freemason, the Lucifer curse, and it having kind of a link to backrooms and kind of having like a liminal space type of vibe, an uncomfortable vibe where people kind of get lost. People can get scared. Anybody who goes there is feeling very, 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 very uneasy. Even one person has died during the construction of the Denver airport and has died on those lands. I believe that there's a curse that's making it so it may never be finished. There's a place that is built on top of something that we do not know about, something that these Freemasons do know about, and it kind of not being able to be finished because of the curse, because of all that's going on. Because when Lucifer was finished, it immediately killed whoever finished it. Are you seeing where I'm going? Like, you see where I'm going? Kills whoever's finishing it. So therefore, there's no construction that's going to be finished because they can meet the same fate. The other people died because of a malfunction. It was kind of the end of a project. They ended up passing. I don't think the Denver airport wants to be finished, and this kind of works in the Freemasons' favor. The more tunnels, the more things that are left untouched and unfinished, the harder it is to find them. I don't believe that there is a portal in the Denver airport. I believe that there is a curse. There's a curse on the Denver airport. There has been for a while. Hence why everybody gets lost. Hence why everybody always feels uneasy and feels watched. Why it scares so many people who have not even interacted with. What do we know about the Freemasons, and what do we know about the Illuminati? They like to be around those types of places. They are underground, they're not an underground civilization. They're like an underground, kind of cult. And they kind of take up spaces that nobody else wants to be. Hence the Denver airport.
The Denver airport theories are always interesting, and I've kind of come up with some of my own theories around it myself, not necessarily revolving around that's where the Illuminati headquarters or that's where the Illuminatis just hang out. What if the Denver airport has no other purpose other than to be a creepy factor to feed off of your negative energy? Because like she said, when people are around that place, they just get this uneasy, creeped out vibe. But what if that's by design? There's other places around the world that kind of work in a similar fashion, like the Tower of London, the Catacombs of Paris, and that's just to name a few. Those places seep negative energy and people are just creeped out by them all of the time. What if that is the play? What if there's some kind of component that catches that energy and it fuels something? I don't know what. I'm just kind of still theorizing about all this. It's kind of new to me. But what if there's more to it than just, oh, well, this is a secret meetup place for an Illuminati group or some kind of secret service group? Instead of, what if it's a place that causes negative energy for it to fuel something else? It's just something that I've been thinking about. If you have anything further to add, let me know in the comments.
If you think time travel is impossible, here are some stories that might change your mind. Part 2. First up is CERN. CERN is, of course, home to the Large Hadron Collider, where particles are smashed together at nearly the speed of light to study reality at its smallest levels. But according to this theory, CERN was doing more than uncovering the secrets of the universe and may have accidentally altered our reality itself or shifted us into a different timeline altogether. People have connected CERN's experiments with the Mandela effect, distorted memories, bizarre coincidences, and the growing feeling that the world had somehow been different since 2012. But with the recent shutdown to upgrade the power of the LHC, a lot of people are saying that the world has started to feel normal again. That is until the LHC restarts in 2030. The Vanishing Hotel. In 1979, two British couples were driving through France en route to Spain when they stopped at an old-fashioned hotel that seemed completely out of place. The building was lit up by oil lamps, the rooms had wooden doors with simple latches, the furnishings seemed antiquated, and the staff wore period clothing that just belonged to another era. And after spending the night, the couples continued on to Spain for their vacation, but 2 weeks later, on their way back to England, they retraced the route and attempted to stay at the same hotel because they liked it so much. But it was gone. They repeatedly searched the road where it was, but they couldn't find any trace of the building anywhere. And to add to the weirdness, the photographs that they remembered taking inside the hotel never appeared on their developed film. Did they go through a time slip into a different period in history? Next is Victor Goddard's future airfield. In 1935, RAF officer Victor Goddard flew over the abandoned Drem airfield in Scotland. The facility was overgrown, deserted, and falling into disrepair. Later though, while flying through an intense storm, Goddard found himself passing over the same airfield, but this time it looked fully operational when it shouldn't have been. He noticed that there were mechanics down below wearing blue overalls, working on these unfamiliar yellow aircraft which sat on the runway. The storm then passed, and Goddard continued on his flight. And years later, Drem Airfield reopened. RAF mechanics began wearing those blue uniforms, and the training aircraft there were painted that same yellow color that Goddard claimed to have witnessed. Did the storm somehow throw Goddard temporarily into the future? Sergei Ponomarenko. So in 2006, there was this story of a confused man in his mid-20s appearing on the streets of Kyiv wearing clothing that looked like it was from the Soviet era. He wound up getting arrested for suspicious behavior, and the authorities found his ID, which said he was born in 1932, which would be impossible based on how young he looked. When asked what year it was, Ponomarenko insisted that it was the year 1958. He explained that he had been taking photographs with his camera when he noticed a strange disc-shaped object in the sky. After photographing it, he suddenly found himself standing in the same city, but everything had changed. According to the story, he was still carrying his camera, and when his film was processed, they showed Kyiv during the 1950s. The mysterious object that he talked about in the sky, and also an image of Ponomarenko standing near it.
I really like time travel stories because it does add a case of mystery to what was that necessarily. And some of them, you never know if they're true or not, but there is some documented cases as to where, yes, this was a true story. Just was there some kind of error in the system? I personally believe that if there is time travel, it's so complex and so law-stricken that it would be almost impossible for just anyone to really travel back through time or even into the future. Because if someone was actually able to travel through time, I just feel like we would notice that more. There would be things happening a little bit more than what's happening now. Honestly, because there's no time traveling happening, we've never actually witnessed it. Because if time travel actually happened, we would know. Something major would happen. Not to mention, like I said, if there is laws to time traveling, I'm sure that there's time police and it's just a whole ordeal that tries to keep it organized. And maybe there's some kind of loophole that people just slip past, and that's what we have here and there. But I feel like if time travel is a real thing, it is heavily monitored, there's strict laws behind it, and more than likely it works way differently than how we imagine. But that's just my idea of time travel, and if it's possible, let me know yours in the comments.
When you meditate or right before you go to sleep, some of you see like a glowing light beam. Some of you see faces. Those two are not the same at all. A lot of people get them confused and think they're probably the same thing, but when you start comparing the descriptions, it turns out they're really pretty different. When you see the faces, they usually only appear for a brief moment, just sort of coming and going. They fade away, they come in, and then they fade away. And they look pretty much like ordinary people, could even be a loved one or historical person, but most often it's nobody I've ever seen before. I don't know who this is. They also feel like one individual, kind of like one consciousness just sort of steps into your awareness. Light beings, on the other hand, often get described as radiant. Instead of focusing on facial features like so many of you talk about the expressions, now instead you're seeing like you notice their energy or that they glow or even that you have this overwhelming feeling of peace and love and wisdom. They may even communicate with you without even speaking at all. It's often interpreted that faces are individual souls or visitors that are crossing your awareness, seeing your light on and stopping in to see you. While light beings, on the other hand, are more understood as guides or highly evolved beings or angels or higher intelligence. Can it be proven who any one of these actually is? No. But the one thing that is very constant is that with all these people who see the faces and the beings, they are always talking about how the experience left them feeling changed or comforted or deeply connected.
I've never really meditated before, but whenever I go to bed, I've never witnessed or seen any light being or face in my room before. So I really have no say or any kind of experience to provide on this one, but I would really be interested if any of you guys do, so please leave a comment letting me know if anytime before you go to bed or while you're sleeping, if you see these light beings or if you've seen these faces.
Hey guys, I want to discuss some things with you about UFO disclosure. And let me just say, this is my opinion. This is entertainment purposes, and I try to do this the best I can without videos being taken down. I just want to say that they keep feeding us full of UFO videos. They show us the files. The files is of another UFO. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but that doesn't explain who they are. The big question, ever since Bob Lazar came out in the late 80s and George Knapp brought it to the light, and Bob Lazar talked about working at S4 in Area 51 and talking about all of the different technology, Element 115 and the anti-gravity propulsion and things that they think that they're trying to reverse engineer. This is the big topic. Every time you look at people like Jeremy Corbell and he talks about this and he says we need transparency. It's like this. We ask ourselves, do we possess this technology? I do believe that every country has reverse engineered technology. Bob Lazar made it very clear years ago that we cannot possess this technology. It's off-worldly, and that we do not have it, and there's no way to have it. So is there anything that can mimic that? Who knows? We do know that the devices we're using, just like this iPhone I'm using now, that the fiber optics and cell phones and everything came from some sort of technology that nobody knows about. And I do believe that they gave us these things. I believe that we possess these technologies through, well, you can call them extraterrestrial, you can call them interdimensional, whatever you choose to call them. That's the thing. Nobody knows. And another thing, other than the technology, it's about, okay, why are they not telling us the truth? Does it have to do with money? Of course, you know that some of the reasons that they're not telling you anything is because it probably does have to do with funds and money and where it's coming from to fund these projects and these aerospace companies. But another thing, and the big thing, is that religion is probably one of the main reasons they will not disclose it fully, because if they do, they're going to let you know, they're going to tell you, and look, I'm telling you what's coming. They're going to tell you you were created by extraterrestrials. They're going to tell you maybe, and I'm not saying it's true, but maybe we're an experiment. Maybe we're from, they used us as an experiment. That's why they're overseeing everything. That's why they will not allow nukes to be used, because they see that every form of technology we have, it is used to make weapons. I do believe whether or not they're demonic, whether or not they're interdimensional or extraterrestrial, I do believe that they're concerned with how we use the technology. And if it's anything prophetic, you do know that we can't allow things to happen before prophecies are fulfilled. So then you have to go to the biblical terms on this whole subject. That, okay, Bob Lazar claims that he saw a whole book, documents on religion, and Jesus Christ was very real, but then people are saying he was some sort of a hybrid species of alien. Look, we're hearing everything. You don't know what to believe. I'm going to tell you this. One of the main things that they're not going to tell you is who they are. It is absolutely absurd to even try to figure it out, because they do not know. We say the government is keeping secrets from us, but they do not know. They don't know who it is. There are people that have made deals. There is the Eisenhower Treaty with the gray aliens, and all of these subjects. There's the UFO flap of 1952, where all of these orb-looking UFOs swarmed the White House, and this is real footage. Not to mention there's later documented footage of the Kremlin and the White House again in DC with pyramid-shaped UFOs hovering over the whole city. There's no way to disclose it. That's where I said all that to say this. So many different topics. It's like I'm ADHD jumping back and forth, showing you different things. Then they're going to tell you there's this many form of species. There's 4. Well, I've heard there's over 52 or 56. So people like John Lear, Robert Dean, William Tompkins, Clifford Stone, people of the old days, Phil Schneider, they have been talking about this for years. So if you want to know the truth, and this is my opinion, you want to know the truth about what's truly going on, go back to those stories. You're getting what's been, all of these UFO videos, and they're trying to just pacify us with a UFO files here and there. Listen, I'm telling you now, if you want to know the truth, go to the old stories.
At this point, even the old stories are probably a psyop. I like where he was going with this, where he was saying, the government just truly doesn't even know what it is. They're just saying all these things. That is probably the best theory out of all the theories. If there really is this anomaly happening, then there is a good chance that maybe the government really doesn't know what it is and they're just speculating, trying to give us enough information without truly opening up what it could actually be.
The first able-bodied individuals have received a brain-computer interface. Now, this is really important because data has to come from healthy individuals too. However, there are a lot of concerns with cybersecurity, and that has been an issue for medical devices for some time. This was conducted by a company called Precision Neuroscience, and yes, it happened in the US. Normally, brain chips go to people who are profoundly disabled. They've been used to restore the ability to speak, for example, by reading the internal monologue using the patterns in your brain. This one is far less invasive than other brain implants because it doesn't actually go inside the brain, it just sits on top of it. Of course, there still are a lot of worries. Anytime you open up your skull, you are risking things like infection, and that thing could corrode, but I have more concerns about hacking these days. Medical devices are already a huge security risk because you are talking about something that must connect to a computer that goes inside of somebody's body and takes care of some pretty important things, and a brain is a pretty important thing. For many of these devices, the risk comes when they connect to a computer for things like diagnostics, but if something has to continuously operate and can communicate 2 ways, that is particularly vulnerable. This is why most of the problems that have occurred have been in medical software, although there have been a few instances with cardiac devices, especially if they are continuously monitored for function, there is that communication, and that makes them vulnerable. Now, of course, neural privacy is a huge concern when it comes to BCIs. More than just being concerned about people hacking your BCI, you might be concerned about how your data is being used, because something that is connected to your brain and monitoring your brain could potentially be used to monitor how you feel when you look at something, or what is most effective, and that is something that people are considering now, even before they become widespread. For me, I'm more concerned about somebody potentially hacking a 2-way BCI. I mean, something that is in direct contact with your brain that can stimulate your brain could potentially be used for not great reasons. Even then, malfunction is a massive concern. These things are really not widespread yet, so we really haven't seen the full spectrum of things that could go terribly wrong, and something tells me we will. I do want to ask, if brain-computer interfaces became widely available to the general public, even to do things like augment cognition or to play video games with your mind, would you get one? Because I'm not entirely sure.
I could not see myself ever getting some kind of brain implant unless it was an absolute requirement to where I was unable to maybe walk or see, and it was, hey, if you get this brain implant, you can see again. Then maybe, but otherwise, just to play a video game with my mind, I'm good. I'll pass. There's no need for that kind of tech in my brain. I'm more of a external technology kind of guy. If you can give me some night vision goggles, maybe some super hearing devices, that's cool. But anything that has to be installed inside of my body, I just think that's a no-go. Let me know your thoughts and theories.
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. With that, I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm doing my best. If today's your birthday, happy birthday. And if not, have a good day anyways.